guys, it's Izzy here, and today I'm going to be doing my June wrap-up, showing y'all all the books I read this month. And we still do have about 4 days left of the month, so I probably will start reading another book, but I won't finish it in June, so it won't be in this video, but you can watch my TBR video to see what other books I had planned to read this month. But let's get into this video. I have a full face of makeup on for the first time in like 6 months, so I didn't want to wear lipstick originally because I'm not a huge fan of lipstick. I think my lips look fine, but I got a lot of foundation and it wasn't coming off. But this is a book video, not a beauty video. So the first book that I finished this month is a Batman comic. I have never read a DC comic before. So this is volume 1, I Am Gotham. This is really about a villain who is trying to save Gotham from Batman. And I am going to continue with the series. I really just picked this up because I had no other comic to pick up and I wanted to read a comic, and this is one of my dad's, so I was just like, I'll read it. Because it had a volume 1, so I was like, okay, it's the first one. And this is in the DC Rebirth series thing. I don't really know much about it, so, but I did read it, and I don't give graphic novels ratings. That's just, I just don't, because I don't feel, I don't know how. So our next one is one that I started in February, or I started at the tail end of January, but finished this month, and that is It by Stephen King. As you can see, a lot of tabs because this was the book I was annotating. It's a big book. This is not the biggest book I've ever read, though. The biggest book I read was Les Mis, and I read it in 10 days, and this took me months. So I did do a full-on review on this, and there's a link to my blog where I make, it's all about reading, in the description if you want to check that out. But in the pinned comment, I will also have the links to my Goodreads reviews. Give them a thumbs up, please. But it is such a long book. So I'm not going to go into what this book is really about, because I feel like most everybody knows what it's about, because it's a major motion picture in the 90s and today. The second movie comes out Labor Day weekend, and I'm so excited. I won't be able to see it the day it comes out because Labor Day is race weekend here, so I won't see it the day it comes out, but I will see it that week. So this is a great coming of age story, and the book is set in the 50s and the 80s, whereas in the movie is set in the 80s. They're kids in the 80s instead of kids in the 50s. So, and I guess the second one is like present day. This starts out, we know all about Pennywise the clown. He is killing kids and all of that. And I just think this is a great coming of age story. The characters are what really makes this book, in my opinion. Just, I don't know, the characters are so good. I love them all, and I cared so much about all of them. Now, and I think the plot is great, how they have to come together to fight against this thing. Against it. So the reason why I only gave this a 3 stars, I know I give it this many tabs and I only give it a 3 stars. So this is 1153 pages long. I think this could be 400 pages long. I think it's really dragged out. And Stephen King gives us a lot of unnecessary details. He gives us a lot of long lists, and I'm like, we don't need all that. And I don't like the formatting because there's like sections in the chapters, but I have since found, like, see, this is within a chapter, but I've since found out that is normal in Stephen King's works. But yes, overall this is a really good book, and I would recommend it. And this was my first book in the horror genre and my first Stephen King book that I ever read. I don't think I'm gonna read any more of his, but I do think this is a great story, great characters, and for me, I care more about characters than I do the plot. And I mean, it had a great plot and great characters, but just for anything, I prefer a book to have great characters. So moving on to another book. My next book is Da Vinci's Tiger by L.M. Eliot, and this was another 3-star review. So I did tab it, but the way I use the tabs, you can't really see in there, but I tabbed all of these books because I am writing reviews this month. When I do a wrap-up video, I do write reviews that month, and when I write reviews, I do like to annotate. So if you would like a video on how I write my book reviews, give this video a thumbs up and tell me down below in the comments, and I will definitely do one of those for you guys. So this book is set in Renaissance Florence, Italy. And Medicis were the main rulers, and if you do not know, I love the Medici family. They're my favorite family in world history. I love the Renaissance. I just love it. So I was very excited for this book, but again, I am going to be really picky about something that I love and adore and have done tons of research on. So that I was really picky with this, and this did come in an owl crate box if you were curious. I talk more about that in my review, again linked down below. So this is about Ginevra de' Benci, not Medici, but they are allies with the Medici family. The Benci worked with the Medici with Cosimo, I think it was Cosimo, not Lorenzo. They worked in that family, so she has to marry a man twice her age, which is common at the time, and just for political gain of her family. So Florence at this time, they are trying, because Italy didn't become like the Italy we know today until the last century, the 1900s. World War II really made it that unified Italy. So before Italy was just a bunch of city-states, you had the Papal States in the south where the Pope was. So Florence is wanting to connect trade routes with Milan and with Venice. Doing that, the Venetian ambassador comes to Florence, and it's common in Florence for these powerful men to have a platonic lover. We have, Lorenzo has Lucrezia Donati, I think, I'm not certain on the pronunciation, and then Giuliano has Simonetta de Vespucci, which her husband's cousin is Amerigo Vespucci, which is who America's named after. They have platonic lovers who are really, they just inspire them and all. So when the Venetian ambassador comes to Florence, he wants to be like Lorenzo and have a platonic lover, and that's where Ginevra comes in. He commissions a painting of her, and that's where Da Vinci comes in, and Da Vinci is the one to do the painting of her. And Goodreads labeled this book as a romance, but if you're looking for romance in this book, I feel like it is not the strongest section of this book. And if you're looking for Da Vinci, I feel like this isn't a great book to go to. It is more about Ginevra. So my personal why I gave this a 3 stars. I didn't like the characters. They were just very dual. I mean, Leonardo was obviously a very interesting character. I don't know how you can make him boring. I like Sancha, who is one of Ginevra's maids. But Ginevra, I just didn't really like her. I mean, she was very naive, which she's only like, I don't know, 18 years old. And I mean, I'm turning 20. So I do think that it is reasonable for her to be naive. And I don't really, I wouldn't knock that off, but I just feel like they're very dual. And she doesn't change throughout the story as she gets older, because this does go through years of her life. And I feel like it was so atmospheric how the author described Italy, and I have been to Italy, and I do think she does a great job at that. And you can very much tell that Ellen Elliott did her research on this book. It's very research. She really did it. So I just didn't really like the characters in this, and yeah. So this is I mean, I don't know if I recommend it. Yeah, I don't know. But if you would like to read some nonfiction books along with this one, I do have some suggestions for you. Let me get my notes out. We have The Medici by Mary Hollingsworth. We have Leonardo da Vinci by Walter Isaacson, and April Blood by Laura Martin. See, I can't read my handwriting, but you'll see the books on the screen. I would recommend reading those along with reading this book if you would want to know more about Italy and Florence at that time and some of the characters in this book from a nonfiction standpoint. So moving on, we have Star Wars, the prequels, and this is the graphic novels for them, the bind up of all of them. So that is The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. The prequels are my favorite Star Wars trilogy. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but it's the ones I grew up with. They were coming out in my childhood, and I love these characters. They mean so much to me. So I did really enjoy this, and I love the art in this. It's just really cool. art. But yeah, I did really enjoy this, and again, I don't give these a star review because again, I feel like it's hard to judge and to give it the same as a novel. So going on to our next one is another bind up, and that is Stranger Things: The Other Side. So this is about Will Byers when he is in the Upside Down. So I don't think you necessarily have to watch Stranger Things to read this novel or to read this graphic novel. I mean, you may want to just to see what's happening on the other side too, but to see what Will was doing in the Upside Down, that is what this book is about, and it is a bind up of all of these. And this is by Dark Horse. I really like Dark Horse for all the comics I've read, but sadly Star Wars doesn't do Dark Horse anymore. They do Marvel. But okay, moving on to the book I am reading right now, and that is A Sky Painted Gold by Laura Wood. So this is a book set in 1929 in Cornwall, England. So I read The Clockmaker's Daughter, and some of that does take place in the 1920s, but it's more of a generational tale, so it's going between different time periods. So first off, look at this cover. It's so beautiful. In fact, it's so beautiful. And again, annotating, and I'm doing my tabs differently than I did with Da Vinci's Tiger. So this book, I think, is going to be a 3 stars. I'm going to finish it today or tomorrow. So be expecting a review for it. I link it everywhere. But this, again, it's the characters. I feel like our main character is really annoying, and she is very repetitive. So our character Louise is a writer, but she gets swept away by the Cardew twins, or not twins. I thought they were twins, but apparently they're siblings. They come from London to this big estate that everybody in their small town in Cornwall has been so fascinated with because nobody has been there in like 20 years. So when they come in, Louise is kind of peeping in on their party and gets kind of invited into their lifestyle, and it is so different from her everyday small town life that she's with all these rich and famous. I'm not sure of their nobility because it's never mentioned again, so I'm not sure if they are or not. But yeah, I just felt like Louise was a really annoying character, and she's constantly comparing like relationships and all, and I don't know, I feel like you shouldn't be comparing stuff. But yeah, I didn't like her. But I do love the setting, the idea of the 1920s. It's very Gatsby-esque, which it does say in the summary that it is. And for the different parts in the book, there is an F. Scott Fitzgerald quote at the start of like every part. And this book, I mean, I feel like nothing has really happened throughout it, but I mean, the parties are so like, it feels so atmospheric. Again, I keep using that word, but it is, and they just sound marvelous, and I wish I was there. But yeah, I do think some of the side characters would be more interesting, and I do think this could make a good TV show, but again, I feel like nothing happens, but I do think it could do well. They just changed some things. But I will let y'all know when I write my full-on review what my final thoughts are on this book. But those are all of the books that I read in June. I know it wasn't a great month because I gave a lot of 3 stars. But again, a 3-star isn't a bad review. It is average. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. Bye, guys.